And this is an evidence-based independent report that's based within the UNESCO, but it's meant to be an objective report. And I was here to present the 2019 Global Education Monitoring Report, which looked at the relationship between education, migration and displacement. I think what we find through the report is that migration and displacement is an issue that's relevant in education systems around the world for all countries, from the poorer countries to the richest countries in the world. And in Kyrgyzstan and in Central Asia, as well as in other countries, migration and displacement offers some opportunities for education, but also some challenges for system. For instance, we know that remittances, so the money that the migrants send back home, is often used for education, and thus it can advance the education attainment of the children who are left behind. At the same time, we know that the children who are left behind, in the sense that both of their parents migrate, often face more challenges. So they might be bullied in schools and they might have more emotional problems which might intervene with their education. Again, there's positives and negatives, but then we also talk about the role of education in terms of creating a more inclusive society and more welcoming environment. So in Kyrgyzstan, as in other countries, education can have this effect on a positive effect. So if we talk about, if in schools we learn about a diverse society and we learn to appreciate this diversity, this can have this can create a more inclusive society as a whole. And one thing that report points out to is that, for instance, internal migration, so the fact that people move within the country, live in a different region than they were born in originally, is a much bigger issue than one would expect from the sort of small extent that is covered on the media. And I think that's the same in Kyrgyzstan and in other countries. So there needs to be attention paid to make sure that children who move within the country between different, for instance, oblasts, that they have access to education, and that within that education they're included in all the learning and are able to be treated as equal with everyone else. Definitely. So we have recommendations both in the report, and every material that we publish can be found on our website, and it's all free to use and download by anyone. And among our general recommendations, some of them I've already mentioned before, but we recommend to assure access to education for everyone, and also to make sure that within the content of education, this diversity is appreciated and is mentioned. And we also pay attention to teachers. Teachers need adequate training and adequate support to really deal with some of the challenges that sometimes diversity can pose to them in the classroom. And beyond just the education system, we talk about financing and appropriate levels of financing that need to be in place so that there is so that the kind of challenges of providing education to migrants and refugees can be tackled. So even though these recommendations are quite global, I believe, and from what we heard in the conference today, they can be applied to Kyrgyzstan as well.